Hi, I'm Mr. Johnny McKenzie, and I'm the instructional designer for the Cedar Valley Community College, specifically the PBI project. The project-based learning provides an opportunity for students to learn. It is an inquiry-based investigation, research, and resolution opportunity for students that teachers can use in their classrooms. In this brief lesson, we will explore what is project-based learning, and we will also provide you with some examples of project-based learning activities that you can do with your students. An instructional method which focuses on the investigation and resolution of a messy real-world problem as a context for students to learn critical thinking and problem-solving skills. That is project-based learning. Students can work individually as well as in a cooperative group to solve challenging problems that are authentic, curriculum-based, and often interdisciplinary. So here's a standard classroom lesson. From any Spanish-speaking country, you may choose to research one of the following: a famous author, a well-known artist, a nationally recognized person, a style of music or dance, or a holiday or other festival. This is what our students normally see in the classroom, and it's basically straightforward, and it provides them with a research opportunity. It goes on to say that prepare a PowerPoint presentation in which you present your findings on a topic of your choice. We want to learn as much as we possibly can. Now, we're going to take that exact same lesson and we're going to turn it into a project-based classroom lesson. Based on your reading and the statistics that you have interpreted, you are aware that Hispanic Americans face a number of challenges culturally, emotionally, educationally, and economically. An immigrant family from, and then of course you select the country, has moved to Waterford, and two of the children will be attending the Waterford High School. What can be done to help the members of this family create a successful transition from their native culture to American culture, retaining important native cultural values, but at the same time adapting to the demands of life in the United States and in Waterford in particular? Now, as you can see, this particular activity is inquiry-based. So not only are the students doing research, but they have really got to get into the lesson to really learn and understand what these particular students are dealing with and what they go through on a day-to-day basis. So here are the benefits of PBL. Number one, it makes learning relevant to the real world. Number two, it moves learning from a passive activity to an active activity. And number three, it increases motivation. Students are more engaged, they are interested, and of course they are energetic learners as they make a personal investment in the outcome of their inquiry. Now, we have written over 100 different project-based learning activities. These activities are from the BIE website and from other resources. And we would like to share with you how these activities can benefit you in your classroom. So here are a few more benefits of PBL. Promotes an interdisciplinary approach to learning. That simply means that many different disciplines are interconnected as we explore and learn more about our topics. It does promote collaboration amongst students, as well as it requires advanced cognitive skills and higher order thinking, and then also it requires research from multiple sources and ideal for a heterogeneous classroom, and it reverses the teacher and the student role. The student gets an opportunity to share and even teach what they have learned to others. So we really like that fact that students can actually, in fact, become the expert and present their findings to class. So we're going to do a very quick comparison of teaching methods. Let's look at the lecture method of teaching. The role of the teacher is the expert. The teacher directs the thinking of the student. The teacher holds the knowledge, and the teacher evaluates the student. Let's look at the student and their role when the teacher lectures. The student is the receiver. We've got some terms there, inactive, unless they're taking notes. Students are not as engaged as they possibly could be if they were able to be incorporated within the lecture itself. Let's look at some direct instruction. The teacher, again, is the conductor of the learning. The student is the follower. The teacher orchestrates the learning. The student is very responsive. The teacher may ask the question and the students may respond. The teacher guides the students. The teacher evaluates the student. The student basically waits for the directions from the teacher, as well as the student is semi-active. Project-based learning provides students with an opportunity to be actively engaged in the learning process. These lessons are very complex. They are engaging, and they do require students, of course, to work collaboratively with each other in order to solve and answer the problems and questions. And investigations definitely do occur within project-based learning opportunities, and students are more active and more engaged in the learning process. The teacher becomes a model. They become a coach. A teacher still gets an opportunity to assess the learning of the student, and the teacher also presents the problem or the project-based learning activity to the student. So the teacher is more of a coach. The student now is more of a participant. So number one, the teacher gets an opportunity to mentor the student. The teacher can encourage the student. The teacher can also provide open-ended questions to challenge the student. And last but not least, the teacher models inquiry as well. So let's look at how to set up a project-based learning activity. Number one, develop the project. Okay, that's going to be the main important point to get the idea of the topic that you really want to investigate. Is it developmentally appropriate? That's number one. Is it going to be curriculum-based? Does it provide the students with a chance to learn what it is that you are in fact teaching? Does your topic promote inquiry within students? Is it relevant for them? Those are things that you definitely want to consider. So here's a very helpful strategy for planning your project, okay? How can we, and then state your central issue so that, and then state the conditions for an acceptable solution. And that's the model that we use as we're developing and putting together these lessons that you'll see momentarily. So here's an example of a project inquiry statement, okay? So again, we said, how can we, and then state the central issue so that, and then state the conditions for an acceptable resolution. How can we find a way to return the country's mosquito population to normal so that we are able to do the following? Consider the environmental impact. We want to reduce the health risk from those particular mosquitoes. We've heard about the West Nile virus and the Zika virus and other types of viruses that are out there and being spread by mosquitoes. So we want to be able to live a healthy life. And these are things that we must take into consideration. Prevent the problem from happening again and keep costs reasonable. So this is a pretty modest type of question that students could investigate, but as you guys can see, it says, how can we? And we're finding a way to return the country's mosquito population to normal so that we can reduce health risk, could be one, so that we can ensure that the populations are able to function appropriately, so that we can prevent the Zika virus or the West Nile virus and those type of things there. That's the framework that we use as we are putting together these particular lessons. Present the project, step number two. Okay, you got to provide the students with an opportunity to team up. Are they going to work in pairs of two? It's going to be pairs of three or four. Again, you want to allow your students to think critically and to participate. So we've got an example here. The date is May 10, 2017. We've got to and from, and the subject is increase in the mosquito population. So as you can see from the attached newspaper item, residents of the Racine County are under siege from a population of mosquitoes, possibly the largest ever. The unusual mosquito control methods seem to be ineffective in reducing this unprecedented outbreak. Determine the cause of this outbreak and recommend appropriate solutions. I will expect to hear from you by May the 17th, 2017. In the meantime, I will contact the state to obtain the necessary additional funds to implement the best solution. When you're doing a project-based learning activity, the student gets a chance again to become the expert, and they get a chance to do their research, and they also get an opportunity to come up with some type of solution, and then they present that solution to someone else. Step number 3, you must set up the structure for your PBL project. Once students know what the project is, they can begin to break it down. What are some of the ideas that they are wanting to discover? Basically, they can activate their prior knowledge as they work together. What are some of the facts about their particular project that they are investigating? Learning issues, again, questions that students may have that will require research. What do the students really need to know in order to solve the problem? And then there has to be an action plan in regards to how the students want to proceed in order to solve their particular research problem there. They must have time to gather and share their information. So as you're designing your PBL project, ensure that you have time in there for the students to be able to share their information, research their information, and share their information. And then last but not least, it's not last but not least, but number 5, generate solutions. The student's goal is to develop the best solution according to the actual project itself. Learners begin to recommend solutions based on the information that they have gathered. You do want your students to really think and be very creative. And again, project-based learning activities provides them with an opportunity to learn. How do you plan on assessing your students? That's going to be very important as well as you are developing your PBL projects. Some students are required to take EOC tests. Some students are not. But the point of the matter is that whenever you're assigning a PBL project to your class, make sure that you have a way in which you're going to assess your students. Presentations are appropriate, panel discussions, a chart, reports, debate, video, a letter to a committee, an expert panel, proposal. These are just some different examples that you can use. Debriefing, were the strategies you used to complete the project effective? What could or would you do differently in the future, and what did you learn academically? So we always want to do a reflection at the conclusion of our PBL project to kind of see what we've learned and to also look to see where we would like to go from there. Now, I provided you with several different examples of PBL projects. You are going to be provided with a binder with various lessons. Those particular lessons will provide you with the link, or they will provide you with the actual project-based learning activity. We're asking that you please follow those particular steps as you do these particular lessons with your students. Each lesson has a title. Also, the grade level for the lesson is actually provided as well. And we really do hope that you enjoy implementing these PBL projects in your classroom. Here's an example of a PBL project. How do people in different countries